What's up, everybody? It's the one-man drywall army coming back at you today. And in today's video, I am going to talk a little bit about what type of screw gun I like, which ones I think are the best out there, and just some of the pros and cons relating to each one. So first off, I'm going to start off with the collated screw gun. The one that I ended up picking up was the Senko collated screw gun. Some of the things that I like about this particular gun is that it in fact does screw off really fast. You can unload one of these 50 collated screw strips literally in less than a minute. And for me, that's a huge bonus. Now, I think this gun, I've tried it on both steel framing and wood framing. And personally, I think this screw gun is best suited for steel framing opposed to wood framing for this very reason. These screws don't get tighter and harder to push into the wall with a steel stud, because there's no pressure being built up as the screw gets deeper. And so for that reason, that's why I think that this is a gun that is best suited for steel. I've seen a lot of people use this particular gun with wood, and it does work fine for that. But what I found with wood was that you're going to burn out a lot more tips. You're going to burn tips out with going into wood, especially if you're using a 2-inch screw, an 1 5/8 screw. The deeper you set that screw is going to get tighter and tighter. And by the time you bottom out, you're going to be a lot more prone to stripping out your screw tips. So let me show you guys just how simple this screw gun is to take out the screw tip. It's got this mechanism right here. Just pull the slot down and boom. It pops out like that. So if you can see that up close, this screw tip right here it's basically like a screw shaft. And if you strip it, because your screws are super deep, or you're just going into the wood framing, you start stripping these things out. You can buy these things in a pack of 2 for anywhere from $10 to $20. And for me, that's a little pricey, especially if you're going to burn out 10 of these. These things don't hold up. That's the problem I have with this particular type of screw tip. You can't just take a little one like the other ones, which they seem to be a lot more durable. These burn out really fast, and unless you got a whole bunch of these laying around to just replace at a pretty hefty price, for me, that's just a huge negative. So that's just one reason why I don't like this collated action, because you're going to burn up a lot of tips. And they're not easy to replace. Another thing that I really don't like about this particular collated gun, or any collated gun for that matter, is that they have a tendency to jam up. Now, out of all the collated guns that are out there, Rigid and Senko is definitely hands down a much better unit than the Rigid. You're going to get way less jamming than you will with the Rigid, but nevertheless, you're still going to get jamming. And for a person that, that doesn't like to stop, I'd rather be screwing off at a slower rate without problems than to be going at a faster rate with steady problems all the way through. So for that reason, I think that's a total negative. One of the ways that I found that you're going to get a more fluent better action with less jamming, especially if you're going into wood studs. If you go into wood studs, that seems to be where most of the problems lie. You get really almost no jamming with the steel stud, and that's just because it doesn't tighten up at the end. That screw sinks nice and smooth, and for that reason you're not going to wear your bits out because of that. With a wood stud, you're just going to wear it out faster. But if you are going to use this gun hanging drywall on wood studs, I would say don't use a screw longer than 1.25 inches. And that way that screw sinks a lot simpler. And the simpler it sinks, the better the tip is going to hold up and the less jamming you're going to have. My final assessment with this particular type of drywall screw gun is that I think it's an awesome unit, but the conditions have to be right. If I was using it in a metal stud environment, like with 25 gauge 1.25 inch screws, this to me would be a bad mamma jamma. Any other scenario, it's kind of iffy. I'm not saying that it won't work, because it does, but I would really give it a high review on light gauge metal stud framing. Okay, so now that I've brought up some of the things that I like and don't like about the collated screw gun, I want to bring up about a cordless screw gun. And there are many types out there, between DeWalt, Hilti, Rigid, Milwaukee, and so forth. The ones that I have bought, and I've bought a couple DeWalts in the past. I don't have one to show you because the last one I owned basically was stolen out of one of my vehicles way back when, and I just never replaced it. But I am going to show you a picture of one. So some of the things that I really liked about the cordless screw gun action is that, yeah, there's no cord. You're not dragging a cord around. So if you're working on top of a lift, not dragging a cord around is a feature that I can appreciate. Another thing that I like about the cordless screw gun is that it's lightweight, and is that it's obviously a lot quieter. So I like to use a cordless screw gun in certain scenarios where noise is a factor. If there's a tenant next door and I'm doing a tenant improvement, I generally will go to the cordless drywall screw gun for the reasons of noise. On top of all the other benefits of it being lightweight and the fact that you don't have a cord, makes this a really convenient tool. I know some people that swear by them, and they won't use nothing else, and they'll use only that in every situation. So it's for me, it's not all good. Some of the things that I really don't like, actually it's really one big thing that I don't like about the cordless screw gun, and for me it's a biggie. In fact, it's such a biggie that the cordless screw gun is not the only screw gun that I choose to use. In fact, I rarely use it. The cordless screw gun seems to have a problem with depth accuracy. I seem to get too many shiners, or I get too many blowouts. It's like I could be barely above the surface with my screw head and go ahead and adjust the cone a couple clicks, and just in those 2 clicks, all of a sudden now I'm breaking paper. Another thing that I found was that I could have the depth set right, and then all of a sudden it stops working. It's like seems to be a lot of inconsistency in the depth. And the only thing that I can really come up with on why it does that is the fact that I think the clutch is a little bit not as solid, it's not as grounded as you would with the corded screw gun. And I also think, it's probably that in combination with the cone in itself. So, but regardless of the matter, because I have problems, and I've used screw guns on tons and tons of jobs, and I've tried it all, and it just seems to come with the territory. And so, because I don't like to spend a lot of time messing with clickers and shiners, it's not my go-to screw gun. But it really is a good screw gun in the right environments, and for that reason, I only use it then. Now, last but not least, the type of screw gun that I generally use, and I know you've got to see me use the screw gun on many of my videos. It's just a standard drywall screw gun, old school with a cord. This thing right here, and I'm going to make some comparisons with the corded and the collated, just to explain my position on why I really love this thing. And yes, there is some inconveniences with dragging a cord around. And yes, this thing is heavier, but it's heavier duty. It's way more heavier duty. It's going to last a lot longer. You're just going to get way more accuracy in your depth control. You're going to get way less shiners using this thing, using this type. There are many different types. I've used many different types of corded drywall screw guns, and they all seem to work pretty darn good. I was raised on DeWalt, so for some reason I haven't had a problem with this screw gun ever, and so it's the reason why I'm still using it. Now, when comparing this screw gun to a collated screw gun, yeah, I'm basically flipping screws and doing one at a time. And yes, it's not as fast as the collated until that collated jams up. And then, depending on how long you spend, trying to unjam that collated, this thing here never jams. It'll never let you down. I think this screw gun here serves its purpose. Yeah, there's some inconveniences with the cord. If you're on top of a lift, you really do got to pay attention to where your cord's at, because you can end up popping your cord. And if you pop your cord, that's gonna put you down for a little bit. But for me, I think it's worth the benefits outweigh the, I wouldn't say consequences, but let's just use that word consequence. Whatever the cons are, there's some consequences associated with the cons. And I seem to have very little problems with my screw off when it comes to using this type of screw gun. And for that reason, I use it just about everywhere. It doesn't matter if it's residential, commercial, if I'm screwing or hanging board on wood, or if I'm doing it on steel. This for me is the one that I like to use more than any other. I've been on jobs where I've brought my collated out there, and after 5 or 6 sheets, I just put the thing away and just grab what I know. That could be, a lot of that could be because I'm just set on my own ways, on the way that I like to work, but it works really good. As a drywaller, I probably wouldn't care if I was exclusively just a drywall hanger. I probably wouldn't care about what type of screw gun I use. In fact, I know guys that swear only by the cordless screw gun, and I've shown them, hey, look, man, look at all these clickers that you got. And a lot of them don't really care. They don't care because they're not the one that's finishing it. And because I'm the one that's finishing it, the depth of the screw is a very important factor. So if I was just hanging drywall, I probably would lean. I would lean a lot more to the cordless drywall screw gun because it's lighter, it's quieter. You're not dragging a cord around. And I wouldn't even think twice about whether or not my screws are deep enough. It seems like nobody else does. But like I said, I'm the guy that's finishing it. So it's very important for me to have my screw depth set perfectly with as little amount of go back. So that's the whole reason why I use that. Well, there you have it. I'm not saying that one is better than the other. I think they are all good in the right situations. I believe that each one serves a purpose. It's just a matter of determining which gun is best for what situation. And so with that being said, I really hope that you guys learned something in today's video. And with that being said, during this time in a world where things are really rough, I just pray that you guys will be safe. And if you guys are on lockdown, stay home. With that, have a great and blessed day.